mam dużą przyjemność zapowiedzieć panią Lucynę Chwastowską, dyrektorkę odpowiedzialną za globalny rozwój Alexa Text-to-Speech w firmie Amazon, która ma dla nas Keynote Speech Inclusion through AI.
Hello and welcome. I have a privilege to be here today at Impact Conference to speak about one topic in digital future, which is actually inclusion. And I'm leading at Amazon Research and Development Center, which is a global one. And this Research and Development Center is devoted to text-to-speech, which is rather a fancy name for something very simple. It's actually about generating speech and about making computers, services, and devices speak. And I think it's very relevant for the topic of inclusion because actually making computers speak is fundamental for how Amazon thinks about inclusion. So let me introduce you a little bit to the topic. And all this started around 10 years ago. When Amazon, a set of engineers and scientists at Amazon, set out for a journey inspired by the Star Trek series to create a computer which is controlled only by human voice. And this technology was supposed to be, and this technology was supposed to be accessible from everywhere and was supposed to be installed in every device. That's how it started, as I said, inspired by the Star Trek. And then the question was, why actually speech? Because we believe that, it's a fact that our brains are wired to speech. So we as humans communicate via speech. And of course, it's been debated, and there are speculations when the ability in humans, ability to communicate via spoken language emerged, but actually it's believed that it was like 200,000 years ago when the Homo sapiens developed this ability. And when you compare it actually with how long we've been interacting with computers, it's less than 100 years, right? So there's a big gap, actually, and even in this short time frame of less than 100 years of interaction with computers, the interaction was everything but natural. So, coming back to the idea of how Captain Kirk and his crew communicated with the spaceship computer, we noticed that it was supernatural, and it was even more than what the humans can do because they spoke also different languages. And this ability to talk to machines in such an easy manner actually captivated and captured our imagination completely, and it captured our imagination for decades. So if we take a look at how the interaction between a computer what were the patterns, actually, of the interaction between humans and computer? Then back then in the 70s, we were still typing in the commands. It was the command line interface. Then in the 80s, there was a revolution, which was the graphical user interface. Then came the web and the mobile and touch interface. And finally, in the year 2014, Amazon actually turned completely into a voice user interface. And it was embodied in Alexa, which is a cloud computer, and also Alexa Echo devices, which are devices through which you can communicate with that computer. And actually, it broke completely those paradigms, which you can see here, because it was a tectonic shift in how we communicate with a machine. The shift was about this, that we were offloading that cognitive load of communicating with machine from humans to actually machines. So the machines needed to figure out how to communicate with humans, and they were powered, and they still are powered by artificial intelligence. So that was something that allowed you to access, using your voice, a myriad of services. You can do shopping, you can control your home appliances, you can access the knowledge on the web, and you can communicate with other humans. And interesting fact is, actually, that the way Alexa speaks is actually produced in Poland. And I wanted to present you, actually, what Alexa is capable of in her own words. So, Alexa, please tell us, where are you from?
I'm originally from Gdansk, Poland. I was born back in 2013 when Amazon acquired Ivona Software, an industry-leading voice synthesizer company at that time. Since then, Amazon has been developing its TTS technology so that I can be a market leader in terms of providing the most accurate, human-sounding voices and the best listener experience.
Thank you, Alexa. So what you could have here right now was my voice, which was artificially generated by my engineers. So it was still prototype quality. It still had some rough edges. But it was produced, as I said, completely by our R&D center here in Poland. I think that they captured quite well my awful English accent. So yes, so this is the technology which propels the human-machine communication via voice. And the inclusion comes in different flavors. So it's actually, Alexa has a way of helping humans and helping some sometimes underserved communities in certain non-standard situations. Like, think about detecting hate speech. So Alexa can detect hate speech. It can detect it in English language, but also with multilingual embeddings. So actually, it very well serves the needs of some sometimes underserved communities, especially in the local context. So if we want, we can block on the demand of a particular user, we can actually block the hate speech, so it prevents the widespreading of the hate speech. Then another maybe non-standard use, we can detect disasters like let it be fires, or let it be floods or earthquakes, using earthquake-related language, and also by detecting some non-standard noises. We can check whether a certain community, which might be underserved and compromised from the disaster response perspective, whether this community actually is in danger. So it works very well with, for instance, ethnic minorities. And finally, when you can control the computer via voice, then obviously that prevents widening of the technological gap, where people need to be trained, especially trained to be able to interact with computers, and now it's as natural as speaking. One more. It's actually one of my most favorite stories as far as the usage of Alexa is concerned, because Alexa also helps people from various communities, like people who are visually impaired, people who are blind, people who have difficulties with learning, people who have a spectrum of autism, also people who are simply in emergency situations. It could be a kid or an elderly person that never actually used a computer before. We have plenty of stories like this when Alexa helped. However, I wanted to tell you my favorite story. This is a story of Josh Mill, and I have a privilege of working directly with Josh. Josh is a researcher. He is a principal accessibility researcher at Amazon, and he's been throughout his whole career, he's been finding ways how to make world more accessible for people who are blind or visually impaired. And he knows what he's doing because he knows these challenges firsthand. When he was 4, actually he was... When he was 4, he was a victim of a tragic incident using acid, and he lost his eyesight since then. And Josh is a person who is behind a feature on Alexa, which is called Show and Tell. And this enables people who are visually impaired to just show to Alexa, the Alexa EcoShow devices, an object, and using the object recognition and some advanced machine learning algorithms, Alexa can recognize what the object is and then tell the person what it actually is. It's as easy as you just take a Canon of Peace, for instance, and show it to Alexa and asking, Alexa, what am I holding? So it's indispensable for people who are visually impaired or blind and they live all alone, so it diminishes the dependency of such people on other people. So that's the way how we drive inclusion using the modern technologies and especially the AI-powered engine behind it. And if you would like to know more about the customer-obsessed science, then I encourage you to go to social media and look for our Amazon DevPL or Amazon Science hashtags. Thank you.